Hello everyone, this is just a bit of a video to talk about some stuff that was
Hello
deleted.
everyone.
Yeah, Mason's here too.
Hi.
Both of us are here.
Yeah.
That's either good or bad, depending on what you think of videos, the videos here in general.
Some people think it's bad, but I'm here and I think it's good. Post your opinions below, but I'm not going to read them.
We just want to talk about some stuff that was going to be included into the Spider-Verse that were deleted or taken out.
Or maybe were theorized or attempted or on the drawing board and then were removed from the drawing board because they were too complicated.
That's it. Because for a lot of this, as people know, I'm sure if you've seen this, and spoilers, there is a hell of a lot going on in this film in terms of multi-dimensionals,
Origin
beings
stories.
and origins, multiple versions of characters jumping over from here and there, and you see...
Hither and yon.
Hither and yon, exactly. But it was going to be even more complicated at one point. Because within this universe also, there was also the idea, because Spider-Man was a famous person, at least in the Miles universe, he was well known, or a couple of them, that within that there's merchandise and movies and music and all those kinds of things.
You can buy yourself a Spider-Man costume, exactly.
Exactly.
Probably get a Spider-Man breakfast cereal.
Yes, they say that specific thing.
Do they?
Yes.
Cool. That's probably where I thought of it.
Probably.
Yeah.
And one of the things they were going to do was include an audio track for a Spider-Man movie which was made within the movie. And it looked like that audio track...
So it's a movie Miles Morales might watch at the cinema.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Because there's even a moment in this where you see in the background of a scene, you see the moment from Community where Donald Glover wakes up and he's wearing the Spider-Man pajamas.
Yeah, right.
That's in this movie.
Yeah.
So I guess some versions of live action things do exist in this universe.
Yeah, right.
So the idea is, I think what they were saying was, because it gets very meta and very complicated, the real Spider-Man in Miles's universe,
yes,
the one who's voiced by Chris Pine, not the Jake Johnson one, it does a audio track for a Spider-Man movie that was made by the Hollywood version.
So he's not in it, he's just commentating over the top.
It would seem that way, yes.
I feel like, I said this to you earlier, I think that there would be, on the drawing board, there would have been about 10 versions of this. It would have been like, okay, what if they're watching the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies and the animated Spider-Man is talking over it? Or what if there's a version where it's animated but Tobey Maguire is talking over the top of it? How about... And they did it for a day and then they just tore it all off the whiteboard.
The other thing was John Mulaney's talked about, and I'll put in a clip of this.
Voice of Spider-Ham.
Voice of Spider-Ham, that's right. How he was kind of given a bit of free reign with the improv.
Right.
He's from the world of improv and comedy. And there's just moments where they were like, just kind of have fun with it. So he just does this tirade of Spider-Ham like fighting and swearing and just going completely off his dial. So a clip for that can go in here.
And how the is he gonna do that? And how the exactly is he gonna do that? 2 days. I've been Spider-Ham 30 years.
And so the reason that they decided not to put that in is because obviously you can't, because this is a PG-13 film, or depending wherever.
Oh, we went right off his dial.
But that being said, they didn't stop him. They were just like, just gotta have fun with it. We don't mind.
We'll play it at the Christmas party. Keep going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was...
What other minorities do you hate?
Yeah, so that was one of those things where, look, it was never going to be in there, but it was something that was recorded. As I'm sure a bunch of stuff was. The other thing is, they looked at literally every kind of combination for how many different spider people they could put in this. They looked at, probably not every combination because there's probably infinite ideas, but as many as they could think of. They said at one point they had something like 10 more spider people showing up, and the plan was to just have them keep popping up. So it just keeps getting more and more ridiculous. It's just this running gag that it just keeps happening. But I think they said it also costs the attention span of the audience, and
Absolutely.
they didn't think they could afford it. So that was kind of nixed, and they went with the core team that they had. And even then, there's 3 of them where they do their origin at the same time.
That's right, yeah.
They just play it simultaneously.
And I think while that's again, it's one of those things that as a gag, when you think about it, you go, oh, that is funny.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it drains the audience attention, and it also drains the possibility for sequels.
Yeah, right.
I always think about Iron Man 3, where he's got 40 new suits.
Yes.
Each of which appears for 30 seconds and then explodes.
Yeah, right.
And I would have loved to see some of those in a full scene in a movie.
Yes.
But we're not going to get them. And I think it would be odd to just put in, for example, Spider UK.
Yeah.
And have him voiced by Tom Holland or Jason Statham. And then have him be in there for 30 seconds, then disappear.
Yeah.
Give us that for a whole movie,
Absolutely, yeah. Maybe you could have had a couple more for just some kind of quick on-the-spot gags, and then you kind of move on. But I think this is probably the right decision to make. Because also, in the sequel, maybe that's something you can do. Maybe you can just put in 100, because that's what they... Because, you can work your way up to that.
Exactly, and I think a general audience are on board with multiple dimensions if you do it if you ease them into it.
Yes.
And by the next one, if people are big fans of this first one, throw in 100 dimensions. Why not?
Do as many as you want. One that was mentioned was, there's a quote here that said, thus Australian Spider-Man never came to be. So there was maybe an idea to put an Australian Spider-Man. Redback Man, that's right, that famous Australian spider. You can eat him.
Just eat him.
If
you see one, come down.
Nom, 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 nom. Yeah. Just to be clear, don't eat them. They're very poisonous. You will probably die.
Is a redback poisonous?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So I shouldn't touch this one that's right here.
No, that one's fine. That one's friendly. Yeah.
You should eat it?
That's Darren. No, don't eat it. That's Darren Mason.
Sorry, Darren.
They also apparently looked for ways to put in the live action stuff. Just to put in like your Tobey Maguires and your Andrew Garfields. I would have liked to have seen that. I think I was half expecting it to show up at one point.
At some point. Maybe again on a TV. A movie. Maybe they're in a theatre watching a Spider-Man movie and it's Tobey Maguire. You know? Yeah.
I don't know whether you'd actually get Tobey Maguire back, because reportedly the figure that he got paid for Spider-Man 2 for coming back was $17 million, as opposed to the $4 million that he got for the first one.
Yeah, right.
Plus the back end of the film. So, I mean, obviously he's not going to get a paycheck like that for a small cameo.
Yeah, right.
But I think they also looked at him to voice the older Spider-Man.
Yeah, right.
Because that makes sense, because also that character does have the characteristics of that movie version. And he's done some things like the movie version has, like stopping the train and the upside down kiss and the dancing.
That's right.
So he's got those characteristics, but it was apparently decided that even just having his voice in there is confusing. Because it's like, what is this a sequel to the Raimi films? Is this the same universe?
Right.
Because also then you restrict your universe. Because if you're doing just the Raimi films, they're nowhere near as fantastical as this becomes.
That is true, right.
But then if you're going beyond that, but then people are like, well, I thought the Green Goblin was a man in a motorcycle helmet, not a weird flying demon.
I thought it was a weird featureless stone-faced robot man. What's happening?
So I get that. I understand it. But it's still, I think even a little cameo would have been nice, but I think there's a very real possibility that we'll see that down the line. The other thing was, Doctor Strange was in a very early draft of this film.
Interesting. Maybe to do with the interdimensional malarkey?
Perhaps, yeah. Well, that's what they said. So at one point it was going to end with, he shows up. This was like 3 years ago where they thought about this, and it ends with Doctor Strange, and the last frame is Doctor Strange going, hello. And from the comics, if you're familiar with Marvel Comics, which you probably are if you're watching this, if you've listened this long, Doctor Strange and Spider-Man are friends. They're this unlikely pairing, but they're both in New York.
Yep,
and they're completely different in origin and powers and background and, as different as two characters can get. But they just kind of get along.
Yeah, right.
They kind of hang out a bit. So, yeah, and I mean, that makes sense, right? To put someone like Doctor Strange, he'd step in when there's multiverse shenanigans.
For sure, right. Maybe he's kind of delivering a little bit of wisdom.
That's it.
I can't interfere, but you can...
Interfere,
exactly.
Yeah.
Where am I from? Am I English? No, I've got that generic American accent.
It certainly does.
Yeah.
And I also thought, while watching this, where are the cameos from the other Marvel characters?
Yeah.
That had only just occurred to me that Sony don't own any of those. They only have license to the Spider-Man characters. Hence why they're making, the Venom spin-off films and then this whole multiverse Spider-Man situation.
Yeah, right.
And they've lent the character live action one back to Marvel so he can be in the MCU. But
so
they can't, they'd have to be some kind of weird licensing situation. And I don't know how Marvel would feel about that.
Yeah, right.
Lending
well,
him
I mean,
over.
maybe. I mean, this is a good movie and it could very well end up being a big hit over the long term. So maybe if Marvel just want to make some good Spider-Man stuff, maybe they'll help cross-promote.
Absolutely.
Maybe they'll throw in an Iron Man or a Daredevil.
I feel like, though, they'd probably be more likely to lend somebody over to this as opposed to, say, Venom. Because even though Venom made a lot of money, it's not great, is it?
It really is not, no.
Yeah. Also, there's one more thing that we know of, which was going to be included. The Spider-Gwen and Miles story was going to be fleshed out as more of a love story.
Yeah, right.
And you kind of get hints towards that.
Yeah.
And
it looks like maybe they're headed more towards being friends. Or we'll see. There's going to maybe in the sequel.
They've talked about the sequel, and that's what they might open that up to. But that being said, I kind of like the idea that they're just friends.
Same.
I think that worked well for this, that you can just be a man and a woman and you're just mates.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, stop trying to force it,
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to fall in love immediately upon meeting. I mean, we did.
Yes.
But it's rare, you know?
That's the world of podcasting.
That's right.
You never know with that. Do you want to just quickly touch on the sequels, what they've got planned?
Okay, tell me about it.
I'll tell you about it.
Thank you.
So there's that thing they talked about with the love story. That's what the thing they're planning to expand on.
Yeah, right,
They've also got a spin-off in
But
the
again,
works.
I would like to see it. Maybe it starts out as a love story and then they're like, you know what, we are just
We hate
friends.
each other.
Yeah, that'll do it. Yeah.
The way that podcasting works.
One of us is neat and one of us is messy.
Yes. The other thing is there is a spin-off in the works for this. It's going to be a female-focused film. It's going to be Spider-Gwen, who's also known as Spider-Woman. Spider-Woman, who's also known as Jessica Drew. And Silk, who's also known as
Cindy Moon?
Cindy Moon, yeah.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So who are they when they...
I was thinking about Daphne Moon
You might be thinking it...
from Frasier.
I don't know. Yes.
Okay.
I was also thinking of that after you said
Anyway,
it.
Daphne Moon's in this as
Yes.
well.
They're going to do a Fraser revival, you reckon?
Into the Frasier-verse, yes.
I mean, the dad's dead and the dog's dead. I don't know if you can.
But that's how he learns how great power, something great responsibility.
Something about a great wine and a whatever.
Oh, great wine and too much caviar. The caviar's fallen all over the floor.
Just quickly, we know who Spider-Gwen is, but Spider-Woman has a different origin than regular spider people, doesn't she? She wasn't bitten by a spider in the same way that Spider-Man was.
She was bitten by a horse.
But seriously, Mason, stop your bloody joshing.
I will not.
What's her deal?
Well, her deal initially, of course, is that Marvel needed to quickly copyright a Spider-Woman character so that DC wouldn't take it. So they're like, we better knock one out real quick. But basically, she's a very sickly child, and her father, who I believe is a scientist or some sort of unlicensed physician, injects her with irradiated spider blood.
Yep.
And then she goes into like a comatose state, and then into like an incubation form, and then she emerges decades later as Spider-Woman.
She's got powers.
She does have powers. They're
Specific-
like superhuman strength.
Yep, got it.
Superhuman speed.
Yep.
Superhuman agility. Stick to a bloody wall. Pheromone projection.
Like Prince Shizor. Don't worry about it. Keep going.
Bioelectric blasts.
Like Miles.
Zappity zap. Also, Spy, trained by S.H.I.E.L.D. Don't know if that's going to be in the movie, but I hope so.
Me too. And the other one, of course, is Cindy Moon, who, in a nutshell, was bitten by the same spider as Peter Parker.
As Peter Parker, yeah. Has somewhat similar powers.
There we go.
Yeah.
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man. Spider-Man, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Wealth and fame, he's ignored. Action is his reward to him. Life is a great big bang. Wherever there's a hang, you'll find a Spider-Man.
Anyway, we have a podcast called The Weekly Planet where we talk movies and comics and TV shows. We just did an episode on Into the Spider-Verse, a big in-depth review of sorts if you want to check it out. There's also other videos on this channel which talk about this very movie, an Easter egg video. A video where we talk about all the different versions of Spider-Man in that movie and how their origins and what's going on there.
Videos that aren't about Spider-Man at all.
Yeah.
But most of them are, to be honest.
Yeah, it's probably like 95% maybe. Yeah, it's probably too many. Anyway, that's the end of this video. Leave a like or comment if you want related to the topic. Was there anything you want to see in the sequel? How about that? That's a good question, isn't it, to ask?
Sure is, and delivered perfectly.
Yeah, and if you were bitten by a horse, do you think you get powers or do you think it would just hurt? Let us know.
Or do you mean horse powers?
Any powers.
Oh. Some would say yes and some would say nay. I've done it again.
Crack an ending. End of the video. That's it.
Grab that gem, you guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Nay, that's very good. This might be the most popular video on YouTube after that.
Wow.